Hey y'all, my name's Michael. I'm an American expat who retired early, sold everything, and moved to Thailand to live my best life. And this is Retiring to Asia, the podcast. All right, well, welcome to episode number 2. And today I'm with Claude, who is going to talk to us about life in Thailand and why he moved here and other topics. So actually, we met off of my YouTube channel. For folks who may not be watching or listening to YouTube on this, the channel is Retiring to Asia, and we actually happen to be neighbors. We live in condos that almost face each other. So I'll stop talking. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, thanks, Michael. I found Michael watching one of the many YouTubes that I watch, and I noticed my condo in his background when he was filming from his balcony. And so I reached out to him, sent him an email, and we've had a couple of coffees together, and he asked me to do this.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your life before Thailand.
Well, I'm from Southern California, USA. My parents immigrated there when I was 3 years old, so pretty much a native Southern Californian. We immigrated from Indonesia in 1960, so yeah, I'm an old fart. So I grew up in Southern California, moved right after, about a year after high school, to Newport Beach, California, which going to Newport, living 6 houses from the beach and going to Orange Coast College when you're about 18, 19 years old, that was pretty fun.
Living a good life in SoCal, right?
Yeah, which is probably one of the reasons why I selected a place like Thailand. Living here on the beach in a luxury condo, it's can't beat it.
Yeah. So what else, other than location and the kind of feel of what you're used to in Southern California, what else drew you to Thailand?
Well, I've been to Thailand several times prior to even considering where I was going to retire. In the mid 80s, I traveled to Bangkok for vacation. In the mid 90s, around 96, had the opportunity to travel on business, which was supposed to be 4 days. It ended up being about 4 weeks. And that was Bangkok. Love the people, love the food, the whole culture here is really pretty cool. I remember having drinks after work at this company that I was at, and all of the guys were very welcoming, very non-macho, very welcoming. So I thought, hey, Thailand really is a friendly place. And I've, like a lot of people, I've done a lot of research, watching a lot of YouTube videos, which is one reason why I found you. And then I took 2 exploratory visits last year. In February, I came when the visa exempt was 45 days. So I took advantage of that, and I spent about 5 weeks. Spent 2 weeks here in Pattaya, Jomtien, in condos, using Airbnb. And then I flew to Koh Samui from Utah. Yeah,
just down the road here, about 40 minutes away.
And then from Samui flew to that was 5 days, and then I flew to Phuket for 2 weeks, and I was convinced that Thailand is where I want to retire.
And then you chose Jomtien over those other areas. So you had Bangkok in the background.
Yeah.
And then you checked Phuket and Samui and still chose Jomtien.
Oh, absolutely. And I no regrets of that
so
choice.
What made you choose here over the others? 'Cause
Well,
the others, just for reference for folks maybe who aren't familiar, the others are further south. So maybe tell us a little bit about Phuket and Samui and compare them to here, right? So one of the big draws, at least one of the big differences that I see in those areas is the landscape and the water. So the water's going to be much bluer. The landscape's going to be those tall cliff islands that you see in all the pictures.
Absolutely. Well, frankly, if I was stinking rich, I would probably live in Phuket.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I loved it that much.
Really? Okay.
But I'm not.
Dang it.
I am on a budget. I'm living primarily on Social Security. So, but what I found and what made sense to me is I can live here in Jomtien and I'm paying less than $400 a month US in a luxury condo, 100 meters from the beach. And it's, you can't beat it. And as far as budget, this is the place to go. If I would choose to live in Phuket, I'm guessing it's going to be about 35% higher total cost of living. And what I found when I did travel to Phuket was $40, $45.
Yeah,
to
you
fly,
can get a flight really cheap.
to fly from Bangkok. It's a little more if you fly out of Rayong. But yeah, I mean, at that price and being able to get lodging for anywhere from $20 up.
Yeah.
Why spend 35% more to live there when I can vacation there for weeks at a time and have it be very affordable?
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the main reasons I chose here too. When I checked Phuket, I decided against it. It just I don't know, it didn't feel right to me. But for the same reason, making Jomtien a base with access to 3 major airports and then the great highway system around here as well, you can get so many other places in the country and even anywhere in the world very quickly. And Asia, travel is cheap. Like you said, about $40 to Phuket. It's cheap if you want to go up north and hit Chiang Rai, and go up to that area, or if you want to jump out to Singapore or Kuala Lumpur or Tokyo, wherever you want to go, you can get there in a few hours, and it's not very expensive.
Yeah, this is an ideal launch pad for anywhere in Southeast Asia, really.
Yeah, and you mentioned your family's from Indonesia. Like Bali's only five and a half hour flight maybe,
Right.
And it's usually about $300.
Yeah, I've seen it as low as $225 to fly there.
Yeah, so
and speaking of that, by the way, of Bali, I did consider other places before I just decided on Thailand. I considered Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, mainly because, well, number one, I loved it. I've traveled there, but the primary reason why I really was hoping to want to do that was its proximity
it's
to
close to home. Yeah.
to home. So, because I think more people would be likely to jump on a plane and visit me in Puerto Vallarta than fly halfway around the world.
You mean people aren't thrilled about 30 hours of flying to come and see you?
My gosh, that flight is a killer.
Yeah, it can be kind of rough.
Yeah.
So talking about being far away from home, and maybe that being a detractor, from both of us being in the U.S., it's a long way to come to get here. Along those lines, what, if anything, have you or are you missing about home life so far?
To be honest, other than the people, family, and friends, so far I really have not missed anything.
Yeah.
I still watch a lot of YouTube, as far as the current events of what's going on in the U.S. And I don't want to start veering towards anything political here.
Yeah, no political talk.
But just want to say I'm happy to be away from all that.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And that was one of the big things for me too. And you talked about when we were talking about why you chose Thailand. You talked about how nice the people were. One of the big things for me was, in this move in my retirement, was to kind of eliminate stress, eliminate chaos, and so much of that is like environmental, especially coming from the U.S. Right? There's just so much going on in the world that I don't know. Maybe I'm happily isolated from here because I don't watch the news. I tried not to watch the news when I was at home, but certainly not keeping up with it on a day-to-day basis. Other than keeping up with what the stock markets are doing for investments, it's nice to be able to just kind of set that aside and not have to worry about the stress of all of that.
Right.
So, how long have you been here now?
I moved here right at the end of November. You can say beginning of December for all intents and purposes. I did get my retirement visa with the help of an agent. I looked into several agencies. I chose the one that's probably the most expensive of the ones I looked at, and I have no regrets. He spoke English very well, and he's so connected that I came to the immigration office with about 3 other gentlemen who he was helping as well. Didn't wait in any line. Took us right up to the office where they began to help us immediately, and had that same situation when we went into the bank to open a bank account. So I even said to him, "Hey, you're more expensive than the others that I've looked at." And he says, "I am more expensive, and I'm worth it."
Yeah, the agents and their connections are important, but you've poked the bear with the comment about using an agent. I used an agent too, but that's a topic of sometimes heated discussion.
Oh yeah.
In some of the groups.
Well, if you're talking about Facebook groups,
which also I'm happy to avoid as much as possible. If you've watched any of my videos on the YouTube channel, you will hear me harp about the toxic comments in the Facebook groups. So and that's it's just that Western attitude that people don't leave behind, that they continue to bring with them. Some people, the only way they're happy is when they're trying to tear somebody else down. But you can certainly do these things on your own, and lots of people choose to go that way. But just as many people choose to, use their money to expedite things and the convenience of an agent. So y'all do what you want to do when your time comes, but don't judge anybody else for their decisions on that. So what's the best thing so far? Now, well, let me back up. You mentioned you've been here a couple months now, and you have a retirement visa, but you still go home or you still plan to head back to California and visit family since they won't come to see you.
Right.
You've got to go see them.
Eventually, I'm sure they will, but I'm still a resident of California. I intend to travel often. It's still part of the plan. Again, when you ask what do I miss, I mainly miss people, family and friends. So I definitely don't want to lose that connection.
Good. So you mentioned when we were talking about your decision why you chose Jomtien, you mentioned your budget. Care to share a little bit about so far how that budgeting is going? Do you have an idea of what life in Thailand is costing you these days?
Yeah. Actually, in the business I was in various forms of manufacturing management, director of manufacturing quality, and I also helped implement computer business systems. So I'm pretty good with Excel. I've created a pretty fancy Excel spreadsheet. Problem is I haven't had the discipline
to go and put the numbers in.
Put the data in. I've got a stack of receipts. But I can and and of course, in my first couple months, I had startup expenses that you wouldn't expect to have as a monthly amortized type of expense.
Yeah, I actually did a video over on the YouTube channel about first 90 days and talked a lot about startup expenses. So since you opened that can, tell us about the startup expenses that people moving here or planning to stay longer term than 2-3 week vacation. What are those expenses and what are they like?
Well, in my case, I chose to, I negotiated a 6-month lease. I intentionally did that because they wanted a 1-year lease, and they were asking for 15,000 baht a month. I negotiated them down to a 6-month lease for 14,000, and I gave them all 6 months in advance.
Wow. So you got that shorter lease, which usually costs more here.
Right.
But by paying up front, and you still got 1,000 baht off a month.
Correct.
Which sounds like a great deal.
Again, 14,000 depending on the exchange rate. Right now, it's well under 400 a month.
Yeah.
U.S. So, that's extraordinary. Not everyone does that as a startup.
Yeah. So under $400, like you mentioned a couple times, luxury condo, and we are steps from the beach in these units.
Yes.
That's not Southern California prices for. I mean, these condos are small compared to American standards, but even with a smaller unit, and we're talking 35, 45 square meter units, fully furnished, you're not going to find that anywhere in the U.S. steps from a nice beach in beautiful weather.
Right. I mentioned that I lived in Newport Beach after high school. If you got a place like mine in Newport Beach, you're looking at minimum 3,000 to 4,000 U.S. a month.
So huge savings moving here. Sorry, I cut you off. What other talk more about those startup expenses?
Let's see. Well, I didn't like the fact that my place came with one of those half refrigerators. So I bought a refrigerator for, I think it was less than $400 US. Regular size fridge. What else? Well, obviously the visa expenditure.
Right.
Don't really want to say what that cost is.
And it'll vary. Like you said,
yeah, it'll vary. But I can say that those kinds of things can vary anywhere from 30 to 50,000 baht.
Yeah, and that depends on what kind of visa you're getting, whether you're getting single entry or multiple entry.
Right.
So a lot of
and
factors
I got the multiple entry.
Yeah, a lot of factors go into that. But that is one of the biggest upfront expenditures is housing, getting your visa straight, and then what else? And what else did you run into?
Again, just several items for the kitchen. Air fryer is a must. I love my air fryer back in the U.S. and it's great here. When you go to the night markets, you can buy all this fried stuff,
stir fried and deep fried.
And believe it or not, it can actually be better when you warm it back up in the air fryer. Oh yeah, it's good stuff.
So you're not necessarily cooking in it. You're kind of reheating.
No, I well, when I say cooking, I have cooked. Well, I do buy some frozen food. Because sometimes I just don't want to walk out of the condo.
Sometimes you just don't want to. Or like today.
It hasn't rained a lot since I've been here, but I'm prepared for when it does. That I can stay for a few days without leaving the condo. Being from Southern California, I'm not used to a lot of rain.
Yeah. So startup costs definitely. When you're planning, you gotta plan for that. So you gotta. What I was recommending was, bring extra money so that you can pay that out of cash. You're gonna have to get your bank account set up, that kind of thing, get some money moved into that. But then also for tracking expenditures, the QR payment system here, where you just open your phone and that's gonna make a lot of noise. The QR system here, where almost all of the vendors have a QR code hanging at their stall, or restaurants and stores. You just open your banking app, scan the QR code, and send the money to them. It's kind of like an American Venmo or a Cash App. QR, but it's very, very common here. That and cash go a long way.
Yes.
But that if you're disciplined enough when you're scanning, I have found, I'm like, oh, I'm going to track my money better because I'm scanning. But if I don't go in and categorize it or still put in a note on what I was paying for, it doesn't help other than tell me that I spent money out of the bank. So, but those are definitely handy. So in the time that you've been here, or even while you were making your scouting trips, had any bad experiences in Thailand?
Actually, I can't think of any.
Yeah.
Hope I'm not jinxing myself
Right,
here,
yeah,
but no.
absolutely.
Yeah, knock on. No, I truly have not. Actually, my one bad experience had nothing to do with Thailand. It was my banking app. They froze it because of fraud, suspected fraud.
Because you had transactions.
And yeah, and it was a constant problem. I'd go and use my credit card, like when I bought the refrigerator, that it would be denied because of a fraud alert, and I'd have to get to my email and
tap the button.
Tap the button. Yes, it was me. And but it's always embarrassing when you hold up the line because your card gets denied.
And it's funny because I used to work in banking, and I spent a lot of time in credit cards with a major credit card company, and I worked in anti-money laundering and compliance and stuff. So I've had good things have changed. That was years ago, but anyway, had a lot of experience with the fraud rules and things that are flagging cards. And it used to be you would call them up and say, hey, I'm going to be in Thailand, or I'm going to be wherever, and they would put a note on your account and it wouldn't flag.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
but it's all robotic now.
Now
so.
it's better. And if you call in, they're like, oh, we don't do that anymore. It will just know. Well, I can tell you every time I have gone online to buy a bus ticket from here to Bangkok and buy a $4 bus ticket, and I've done it many times. Every time it still flags and rejects it.
Yeah.
And I have to go back in. So systems aren't smart enough to go, oh, he's buying the same ticket that he bought 2 weeks ago. It's okay. So they learn a little bit, but they still got some learning to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of a pain, right? And you've got and that's one of the things that again talked about a couple times in those videos over on the channel was maintaining a phone number at home, wherever it is you're coming from, and a Thai phone number.
Yes.
But the phone number at home is important so that you can get those two-factor authentications.
Right.
Right. You've still got to have connectivity. You've got to make sure that you've got signal for that, so that you can get those text messages when you come in, or that you've got data on your Thai phone so that you can get those emails and not have to go, oh, I've got to go find somewhere and get Wi-Fi, and then I can come back and make this purchase again later and click the yes, it was me button. So that's another one of those things that you got to think about up front is maintaining a number, getting a Thai number here, and all to do with issues you're going to run into back home.
Yeah. So for me, the moral of that story, I think, is have multiple credit cards and debit cards with different banks.
Yeah.
And keep cash.
Yeah.
And then once you are able to get a Thai bank account, then that becomes much less of a problem because now I have money here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So same thing. I learned to not use my credit card to buy a bus ticket, and I use the Thai bank debit card.
Right.
And it goes right through. But to get that going, still using the credit card, it was a bit of a headache. But,
yep.
And the only reason I didn't go to the bus station to buy my ticket, right? So you can go to the bus station and buy your ticket 2 days in advance. But if you go online, you can schedule it up to a month ahead of time. And you get to pick your seat.
You use 1-2-Go or?
I just use the Pattaya bus. I think it's pattayabus.com.
Oh, okay.
Direct to them. But yeah, the 1-2-Go is another popular one here. But I like to be able to pick my seat. And then if I know I'm going, I can go on and buy it. They do charge like 25 baht extra for booking online. But, if you're going to take the bus to the bus station, you're going to spend 20 baht going and coming anyway.
Yeah.
So 25 baht to do it online and have it done and pick my seat, it's worth 5 extra baht.
Right.
What's next for you? We got any plans? Well, no, let me back up. What do you do for fun here?
A lot of beach time, a lot of night markets. I do have a Thai girlfriend, and so we do things together. And she doesn't live with me, but just restaurants, and then just riding around on a scooter and discovering places like on the dark side, and just walking around and discovering things. There's so much to discover here. I know that I won't be bored. I know that I have years before I've exhausted all the
and
all
when
the
you think
things
you've
to
seen
look
it
at.
all, yeah, and like we said, it's so easy to go other places, and you think, oh,
Yeah,
I've seen it all, or maybe I just want to see a different town. It's easy and cheap to get somewhere else and go there, hang out, and explore. But yeah, same thing. I love hopping on the scooter and getting around. Like yesterday, I rode out to the lake. Hadn't been out to Lake Maprachan yet. Really nice ride.
right.
Completely different vibe, different scenery out there. Or you can ride up north toward Naklua or down south toward Rayong and still be within a 20-minute ride. There's a lot of variation in scenery and things to do here. So you definitely, it is what you make of it. You can certainly come and sit in your room all day, or you can come and sit on the beach all day or by the pool, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Some people come and just sit in bars all day.
Yeah.
So it is what you make of it.
Right. Absolutely.
You get to decide what your life is going to be like, and you can do as much or as little as pleases you. And it depends on your budget, but
And you mentioned bars. One of the things I'd say to people is, don't buy into the negative stuff you hear about pattaya especially on Facebook groups. There's like maybe 6 to 10 streets that at night you don't want to walk, not because it's dangerous, but it's just not my scene. I have yet to sit in a bar. I'm thankful that I've got my girlfriend. She makes it actually a lot easier to make this transition. And there is Farang pricing. I've noticed it. There's a dish that she and I go and have from one of the street vendors, 60 baht. When I went by myself, 110 baht.
You do get foreigner pricing here
I made the mistake. I didn't even ask prior. So now I ask, and I would have negotiated that down.
And so you have to learn in Thai how to say, but my girlfriend gets it for half that. Even if you don't have one, it's a good phrase to learn. I say, hey, but wait.
Exactly. Good tip. Pro tip.
Or it's okay to haggle with prices, right? Ask. Definitely ask, right? There's that rule about taxis and the big taxi scam, they call it, but it is what it is. You get that anywhere. They don't want to run the meter, so know the price of a taxi ride before you get in the taxi. Same thing, if the price isn't posted, and a lot of the street food vendors, and I love to eat the street food here, it's fantastic. They'll have pictures of the food and names of the food, but they won't put the prices. So if there's something you want, it's okay to ask, how much does that cost? It's not because you want to be cheap, but because you want to know. And then if it's more than you've paid at other places, or it just sounds high, it's okay to say, you know what, that's kind of high, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then maybe they'll oh yeah, you're right. It's I misunderstood what you wanted, right? So in Thai culture, it's very important that they are able to save face.
Save face. I think maybe a key tip for negotiating is smile while you're negotiating.
Definitely.
Because for that exact reason, they want to save face.
Yeah. Kindness goes a long way here. So you definitely don't want to come off as negative or accusatory when you're talking to a Thai person, or aggressive at all. That will not work in your favor. But yeah, kindness goes a long way, right? So Thailand's known as the land of smiles, and everybody here is smiling and happy, and they love to get that back. But sometimes, we bring that home culture with us, and we walk around all serious and expect things, that just doesn't fly here. But yeah, it's okay to ask the price. It's okay to say, hey, that's a little bit high, isn't it? Or can you give me a discount? Right? Couple good phrases in Thai to learn when you're coming over. But yeah, foreigner pricing is real. Some of it is institutional, right? So, like for instance, if you go to the Pattaya floating market, just behind us here, it's I think 300 baht for a foreigner to get in. It's free for a Thai.
Yeah.
National parks.
National parks for sure.
Foreigners will pay those. I'll have to see if I can find it or remember what the site is. There's a website out there, a tourism website, that if you sign up and you know you're going to one of the national parks, you can go in and get a coupon code that you show when you go, and you can get in free to most of the national parks.
Wow.
Park by park, and you don't want to hit the go until you're there, right, so that they can see it right then. But also a tip for the Pattaya floating market. You have your driver's license now, right? Your Thai driver's
Not
license?
yet.
So once you get that, you get in free.
Yeah.
Just show your driver's license. A lot of places that charge foreigner pricing will have a reduced amount, or you'll get Thai pricing with a driver's license. Not all of them, but some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can find the link to that website I'm talking about for the discounts, I'll put it on the video. If y'all are watching on video, if you're listening, you have to go watch it on video. Future plans. What's up for you now that you're here and settled? And
Well, I plan on buying a real motorcycle. I had to get used to the term motorbike here, which could be anything from a motorcycle to a scooter. But I do want to, I rode a proper motorcycle in Southern California. I had a Kawasaki Concord, about almost 1400 cc.
wow, yeah.
So I'm an avid motorcyclist. Plan to buy one here. Still trying to decide. And then once I do that, I do want to start traveling throughout Thailand. Definitely to Chiang Mai, down to Krabi, and maybe Phuket and so forth. But I also, as we talked about, this being a great launch pad for international travel. So I definitely want to go to Bali, Malaysia, possibly Philippines, so on and so forth.
Might as well, right? They're all close and easy to get to.
As well as going back home occasionally. So that's pretty much it. Just living the retired life, and it's so. You know, the people I remember used to say when that they wouldn't know what to do with themselves if they were retired. I don't get that. I have no problem figuring out what I want to do to just enjoy life, and so there's plenty of options here for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So you're liking it. You think you made the right decision?
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I'm getting more and more connected. I attend church and like a semi or biweekly men's group, just to stay connected.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely no regrets.
Yeah. So I was gonna wrap up, but you just touched on church, and I've been asked a couple times on the YouTube channel in the comments about, what do you do for churches there? Are there only Buddhist temples here? And that's not the case. You'll find houses of worship for pretty much any faith here.
Yeah.
So it's not difficult to find something that you're used to, or whatever your beliefs are, to be able to stay connected to that and still link into that and receive that while you're here.
Yeah, I'm a Christian. Attend a Christian church called One Way Church, right off of Sukhumvit, and they do all the sermons in bilingual. So they have a interpreter, and they say a couple phrases, and then they interpret in Thai, as well as the music. So it's great. My girlfriend is Buddhist, so obviously we don't share in that. But other than that, there's plenty of different denominations of churches and so forth. So no problem for people retaining their faith here.
Awesome. So if folks watching or listening are thinking of coming here long term, what tips do you have for them? What would you recommend to them? Or what tips would you give to someone who's thinking about moving to Thailand?
Well, number one, don't try to rent a car or a motorbike, scooter, motorcycle, for at least a week or two, and having ridden in a taxi, and just scope out the traffic and see the customs and the organized chaos that is traffic here.
Yeah, so watch and learn for a while.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, I rode a motorcycle as my primary transportation. I had a car, but I rode a motorcycle to work every day. So I wasn't new to jumping on a bike here, but even then I waited and scoped it out first.
Yeah.
You hear about these people who have never ridden a motorcycle at all and think, oh, it's just a scooter, and they rent a scooter, and there's a lot of tragedies here in traffic. So that would be my main tip is be careful about that.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right. A lot of people have this idea for some reason that I'm traveling, right? And it's not limited to just Thailand, right? You see it in Europe and other places too, where getting around on a scooter is more common. They've never ridden one before, but they go and like, oh, I don't want to walk, and I don't need a license or anything. They just want a copy of my passport, and they're going to rent me a scooter. Well, I'm going to do that, and they don't know what they're doing. Especially if they start up and down hills and around curves, and the roads here have a lot of sand on them, things blowing around, a lot of construction stuff going on top of people driving the wrong way frequently here. It's common.
It's
driving
common
on the sidewalks.
And I confess I do it now too occasionally.
You've adapted well to Thai driving. So yeah, good tip. If you come here and you're not experienced on a bike, don't rent one. If you want to be on a bike, just download the Grab or the Bolt app, or just
transportation
get a
is so
taxi.
cheap here.
Yeah,
that there's no reason to do that unless you're experienced.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no reason to risk your life just to take a ride down the beach. Let somebody else do the driving for you. You can get just as scared on the back of the bike as you can driving one.
Yeah.
All right, anything else you tell people before they come?
No, I just definitely come. It's you won't regret it, even if it's just to vacation.
Yeah.
But I have no regrets moving here to live.
Even if you're coming from the U.S., it's worth 28, 30 hours of travel time to get here. But come for more than a week if you do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you joining me and being one of the first podcasts. And
my pleasure, Michael. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks. We'll see you in the next one.